This is part 2 of the Motorola 5A1 lunchbox radio, and we had a little confusion here, and we thought this thing was wired wrong, and at this part, and come to find out it was not wired wrong. This wire here, which I painted red with the felt tip marker, was connected here, and that is correct. This is the negative. However, you look at this plug here, it says plus here, because that is the positive. We've discussed that with the 67.5 volt battery. However, the wire comes in here, but it actually does not connect to the positive, even though it's marked positive. That's what threw me off. The wire comes down and goes to the negative terminal. So this is the negative terminal, and this one is the positive. Even though you look at it, the wire is going what appears to be on the negative, but it isn't. It comes around underneath the cardboard, whatever you want to call this, and it goes under here. So in other words, the negative swings through the hole, comes up underneath, and connects to this terminal, and the positive comes up underneath, swings over, and goes under here. So when I looked at this, I said, wait a minute, this is reverse polarity. It's true somebody's worked on it, but it is not reverse polarity. In addition to that, I could not find the 820 ohm resistor until I took videos of it, and here it is right here. There it is right there, the only dog bone resistor in the radio, right there. We're at a standstill right now because we have a high grid emission and a short on the 1T4 tube, and I do not have one. It goes right here. We're going to be starting the recap. So this could be stopping the radio from receiving anything, and all we get is audio. But at this time, I can't do nothing more as far as trying to get the radio going. All I can do is do the recap. And the hardest thing is going to be the restuffing of these 4 caps, the 3.02s and the 1.05 that's inside here. Well, I'm checking the leakage of the coupling capacitor from the driver tube to the 3S4 audio output tube, and right now I put the power supply on with no A battery. We're just supplying it with 68 volts. We're getting 1.4 volts plus on the grid. Now we got a new cap here. This is a 0.0047. What's in here now is a 0.005. The same with this. I replaced this. Quite difficult. Even with my soldering gun, I couldn't get that to take very good. That is why I leave the tabs on and hook and pinch. Then you don't have to worry about your soldering gun being synced out. So, I never had any luck soldering to the chassis. Never. Unless I use the 100 or 200 watt American Beauty. The only way you're going to get these to take on here, it's not worth dragging it out. I can get it, but I don't need it. So anyways, This is going to be a SOB to get at, because it's so tiny. We're going to clip the lead short to the body and hook and pinch, because that's the only way you can do it. Okay, so before we do that, we're getting 1.55 volts positive on the grid. The radio does not have the D batteries in it. In other words, what we call the A battery pack. This is the B battery supply right here, which would be 67.5 volts. So at this point in the game, right now on this part, which is part 2, we're going to have to stop because we have got... Well, I'm trying to use the camera as a viewfinder for magnification, but it's not working out for me. I think this is the resistor lead. I don't think it's a capacitor lead. I still have to get my face in there and hold the magnifying glass. I might not be able to change that. It is leaky, about 1.5 volts DC, but there's nothing I can do. But probably cannot change that. We're gonna have to do some research on that off camera and see if I can get in there. Well, according to the SAMs, that's supposed to be a 005. And it's an 01. So with any of these radios, that's an original capacitor. We're not putting an 0047 in there. We're going to put an 01 in there. Because that was originally the one that's in there. So this has not been replaced. So we're going to put an 01 in there just like we took out. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little pigtail here and there's a pigtail here. We're going to put the magnifier glass on it and put a little hook in there, and we're going to put an 01 in there. So we'll do that off camera. Well, that's the best I can do. I had to hook and pinch because there's no way in hell I'm going to get in there. It's too damn small, so got it in 01. Instead of an 005, because schematic calls for a 005, but what was in the radio was an 01, so that's what we replaced with. And that's the proper way to do it. That was original. It never was changed. If it had been changed, then I would go by the schematic. But no one's worked on that part of the radio. They've only worked on the electrolytic. So I'm doing this so I can see it, play it back in the computer, and make sure there's no shorts, because I cannot see that. So that's the good coupling capacitor. That goes from the plate of the 1S5 detector AVC AF amplifier. Pin number 5 is the plate. And the coupling capacitor goes to the grid, which is pin number 3. Of the 3S4. I've tried working under a camera before. It just don't work out. So I end up holding a magnifier with my 4X reading glasses, 5X reading glasses actually. And that's it. So I'm taking this photograph here as for the video, but also to check my wiring. To make sure there's no shorts in there. It's sloppy. The capacitor's supposed to be under those resistors against the chassis. Physically could not see to get it in there. I just can't do it. So now we're at a standstill right now because we have to replace the 1T4 tube, as I mentioned before, which goes into this socket right here. We'll do the electrolytic, we'll redo it nice and everything else, but I want to be able to work in here. Here is a 4.7 meg. That is on the audio output tube. I believe it's wired on the pins. You notice that it's climbing and it's in circuit. It's already over 4.7 meg. And it is located right here. Yellow, purple, green. It's 5.32 meg right now. But I'm not going to do any more in this radio until I order another 1T4. Now I have two Motorola's, same model number, I can't remember what they are, that I worked on, I believe it was a year or two ago, that just need cabinet painting. Turn the meter off here. And I never got around to it because I can't get maroon crinkle paint. I can get something close to it, but I didn't bother. But I don't want to, I'd have to look in there and see if there's a 1T4, but most of the time you have to take the radio out of the cabinet in order to change the tubes. And I'd rather just get another 1T4, but I'm going to have to wait on that. Other things are more important right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this video on this. We are getting along with it. However, this capacitor block, I doubt I will be able to restuff it. And that's the bypass capacitor blocks that I've showed you on the schematics. So, there's no way I'm going to get into these wires here. They're all jammed in tight to the chassis. And unless you are a watchmaker and have the eyesight of a watchmaker, there's no way you're going to do that. So my method of madness was going to be is to disconnect this. There's 1/4 inch screw here. And heat this up, but I can't find my heat guns. I lost both of them. As I mentioned in other videos, I can't find them. I have a heat shrink heat gun, but I don't think it's going to give you enough heat, and it's not made to be left on a long time. I would have to heat this up and pull it off, and then what I'd have to do is put 4 caps in here, 3.022s and 1.047. The problem is, the capacitors I have on the 022s, the smallest I have, this is 630 volts, 4 of these might fit in there, but then I got a 630 volt 0.05, that's not going to fit in there, because those yellow ones are as big as this guy right here. So that video that I saw, which is not on YouTube, but it's on some other channel somewhere, showed a guy replacing them with real tiny, tiny yellow ones. I don't have any of them. So I might just get the 1T4, finish checking out the resistors there and replace them with what's bad, and that's going to be a challenge as it is, and hope that I don't need the bypasses. Because otherwise, I'm going to have to eliminate this, cut the wires, splice them, and it's not going to be neat, and have the capacitors hanging on the outside without this block, and just wrap it in some kind of a tube or something. That'll be a little larger than that, but it's not going to look right, and I want to try to keep it as original as possible. So we're going to end the video at this time. This is part 2. The first thing I want to do, and it's going to take a little while, so you're not in a hurry. Don't think a lot of you really watch too many of my electronic videos. Anyways, when I get an order together to get enough tubes, because the shipping from findatube.com, Bob Dubush, is going to cost me as much or more than the tube. I believe the tube is $4 new or $6 new. But the shipping is going to be more than that, so I want to order a bunch of tubes to make the shipping worthwhile. So until then, this concludes part number 2 of the Motorola 5A1 Lunchbox Radio.